Hey guys, this is Jakob. I'm content manager and I'm helping small and medium enterprises with their content strategy. In my podcast, Content Marketing Mastery, I'm interviewing people who create great content. And today I have a special guest who's an expert when it comes to creating and selling video online courses. It is Tom Libelt. Hi Tom, how are you doing?
I'm good, man. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you for your time and appreciate that you're here. So before we speak about video online courses, can you introduce yourself in a nutshell? So who are you and what is your passion?
In a nutshell, I'm Tom. I've been in business for 20 something years and my passion is not being in business.
Okay.
No, the thing is like we have to get good playing this game so we can stop playing the game, right? So it's one of these things that, no one actually wants to work all the time, but we do it so that we don't have to. It's like it's sort of a weird strategy that we have to kind of go through.
Yeah, and you have a special history. So you traveled a lot in your younger years, and that's something that I found on your website. You were also a digital nomad. So you traveled just only with your laptop, or how was it going?
Well, when I was little, we moved around quite a bit. Like I remember with my dad, we were visiting Germany, we were visiting Sweden, a couple other places. Then we moved from Poland to the US when I was 10.
Okay.
And in my later years, I moved around. I moved to Florida, I moved to New York, I moved to Atlanta, I moved, all around the States before doing my world journey. So that was a long, slow travel through, 13, maybe 14 countries all over Europe and Asia. And yeah, at that time, it was pretty much me, my laptop, and my bag.
So you also worked in this time? So from your laptop? Or?
Always,
okay.
yeah. Yeah, so the thing is, when I moved from the States, I already had my business fairly set up so I can work anywhere. So there was a moment where I moved from Atlanta to Chicago just to see if my business would break or not.
Okay. You wanted to test it?
Yeah, I wanted to see if it's going to break or not. And then, if it breaks, I can move back to Atlanta really quick. It's not that far. It's like a 20-hour drive. But when it didn't, I was like, okay. And I moved out of the country. And yeah, I've been out a lot since then. I still go back. I go back to Europe maybe 2-3 months every other year, and I go back to the States the same amount. But usually I'm somewhere else. Yeah, and lately a lot in Thailand.
Okay, and why Thailand? Your location now in Chiang Mai. Why Thailand?
So initially, when I started traveling, there were only a couple places where we had a lot of people like me working on their laptops. I tried Berlin.
Was not that good.
No, and it's not Berlin's fault. It's the weather's fault.
Okay. Yeah.
Right. The weather was crappy. It was beautiful in Berlin. I really liked it. Barcelona did not like. Lisbon did not like. And then Chiang Mai was another place in Asia, along with Ho Chi Minh City in Vietnam.
Yeah.
And Vietnam wasn't really good for me because, we left communism when I was little, and then living in a communist country again just kind of brought back weird memories. I was like, I don't want to put money in these people's pockets. So Thailand is where I kind of, settled in.
Cool. Nice. Cool. And you're so to say, an expert when it comes to video online courses. So can you explain maybe in a shorter version, how did you found this kind of niche for yourself?
Kind of by luck.
Okay.
Yeah, like most things happen in our lives, right? Like we kind of walk into them. So when I was doing SEO with a company that I was running more previously, I still have it, but I don't really do anything with it. We were working on a kickboxing gym in Atlanta. and we ranked them really high. Was working for them for maybe 2 years, and one of the managers was a Muay Thai champion.
Mm-hmm.
So he fought professionally. Muay Thai is the Thai kickboxing. We became friends, and then one day he just asked me, like, what if I take my training that I do online? And I was like, I don't know, go do it. And he's like, well, I want you to help me.
Okay.
And I'm like, okay, well, I've never done that before. So, okay, let's do it. Let's try. So we figured it out. Back then it was much tougher. We didn't have all the software available now. So it was much harder to actually put things in and get paid for it, and, automations, everything. Took us maybe like 9 months to get it up. Then
9
he
months.
goes, yeah,
Wow.
it was pretty long. Because like I said, we didn't know what we were doing.
Mm-hmm.
Then he goes, okay, I want you to market this thing. And I was like, why? He's like, well, we got to sell it. I was like, I thought you said, well, I got to help you, build this thing. So I was like, fine, let's market it. And I had a marketing company, but I was like, courses, who's going to take Muay Thai online? That's something you go to a gym, and I was like, okay, so it took us a long time to figure that out too, probably a year and a half to finally nail down the marketing. And from then I got a couple of referrals, and then, eventually I actually went into the niche completely.
Mm-hmm.
And I started dominating because I took all my experience, everything I had, and I just went straight in, focused into this one small part, which is course marketing. And it's not a big pond. It's bigger now. But when I got into it, it was not big. It was maybe 60, 70,000 potential customers.
Yeah.
Small pond, but easy to dominate. And by luck, it grew to, I don't know how many now. I think we have like 400,000 or 500,000 potential customers now. So it's actually a decent sized, place now. But, with 6 or 7 years of me building up my expertise and referrals and everything, like it's fairly easy now for me. And I'm leading in that market. But it happened because of luck initially. Someone asked me to do something. It's how I start almost everything. Like when I was younger, right? I had a record store. This was around when I was 20. I had a record store, and I'm getting drunk at a backyard, and someone says, hey, there's this school where you can get into the music industry. And that was one of my goals. So after hearing that, in a month, I'm visiting the school, I shut down the record store, and I move on, right? And it just a new adventure happens. Same thing with SEO. It was something I read on an internet forum one day. Again, great place to get ideas, right? Internet forums, And then I start the business. It's like with the podcast. I'm sitting in Bangkok at a conference, and one of the guys says, like, hey, you should start a podcast. I'm like, that's the dumbest idea I ever heard. And I started a podcast the next day.
Yeah, of course.
So yeah, of course. This is how we start things.
Yeah, but the cool thing is many people just speak about it. You're actually doing it, and that's in my opinion, a very smart strategy.
Well, my strategy has always been just get things done.
That's always good thing. That's a really good strategy.
And as we, get things done, we either gain experience, find out that it's actually a stupid thing and we stop doing it, or we move on into something else. Or if it works, we're like, okay, double down. Let's go into it. So or you partner up with people who know it better than you and have the experience. That happens a lot too. Yeah. So I sort of been able to put myself into positions where I have better people around me a lot. That's important. I think it's important. But a part of that is because those people respect what you just mentioned, that I'm one of these guys that just gets things done. Like, I don't talk about it much. I'm just like, okay, that sounds pretty stupid. And then I usually go do it. Yeah, that's how life works. Okay, cool. So in your opinion, the most important reason why every author or speaker or online thought leader, so to say, isn't important in which niche, why should they create a video online course themselves or outsource it to somebody? So what is the main benefit that they got? Well, they're productizing their knowledge, right? That's the main thing. You only have so many hours in a day, and I don't know any speaker who wants to trade more time for money. I don't know any of them. So the only way to step away from that is either do a productized service, do an online course, do some kind of a mastermind, a membership, and all these are fine. They're all equally fine. But the thing with online courses is, unlike all these other ones, the overhead is almost minimal. There's no real fulfillment with online courses, right? If you do a productized service, you still need a team to fulfill this stuff. An online course is something you put out once and you can sell 100 times, 1,000 times, and there's no actual back end, really. So when you get that going right, it's the perfect business model. And I think that's why I usually bet on that.
Okay, that's already very deep. So one thing is, many people, or I know people who create the course and they suddenly recognize, oh, nobody's buying it. So can you give strategies or lessons on how to market your online course so that actually people buy it again and again? That would be very interesting.
Well, usually if someone's making a course and no one's buying it, then I ask, why did you create it?
Okay.
That's the main reason. Like, why would you create something no one wants?
Yeah, that's a good question.
If you're a speaker, and I've done some speaking gigs, so I know how the speaking world looks. Well, when you get off the stage, you usually have a little crowd around you. Almost every single time, this one wants to ask you something, this one wants to ask you something. So you have two real choices, right? Like, one, you can put some kind of an offer at the end of your speech.
Yes.
And then kind of learn who those people are and get them to tell you what they want. But the easiest thing to do is when you get up that stage and people start asking you things, well, if you hear the same thing over and over and over, which I do now, even in my field, like I'm not really looking for customers, but I'm getting some clients, but my email list is asking me for things. So I would not create anything, because I want to create a course. I would create something, well, I had like 15 people ask me for this already, maybe I should just go with it, right?
Yeah.
It makes it much easier. Yeah, like don't force your ideas on people, like give them what they want. Like that's the number one thing. And if your offer is not selling still, then either people don't see the value, which means just your sales proposition is pretty crappy and you need to get better at copywriting or positioning, or the offer is just weak. And the easiest way to see if your offer is weak is if it only sells when you discount it. You've probably seen this before, right? People discount their courses, it sells, then they put it to the regular price, no one buys from them. Yeah. Well, the offer is weak.
This means what variable would you change? Would you change the copy, or what would you change in this case?
No, so I would change the offer, because the copy is pretty much the positioning, right? It's how you sell it, how you handle objections, all that stuff. Yeah. But the offer itself, if it does not sell for that price, it means people don't find it valuable. The offer sucks, right? Yeah. So you have two choices: either going down in price and stop telling people you're discounting because they all know it's only worth that much. Yeah. Or just make it more valuable. Maybe tell them that the outcome is going to be much better, so kind of tweak the course and then show the value. Yeah. Right? The worst ones I see is like someone will do like, I want to teach you how to master your anxiety, or show you a meditation technique, or an introduction to finances. I'm like, I can go on YouTube and see that same thing in 5 minutes. Yeah. Right? Yes. Like, where's the outcome? Well, you'll learn the foundation. And I was like, what does that even mean, learn the foundation? I can see it on YouTube, right? So you want to have an actual outcome, something where someone's going to say, well, you're making something easier for me, or you're teaching me a skill that's going to make me money, or make me feel better about myself, or I can show off, or you're going to save me a lot of time. Like, all these things like will count when it comes to the value. Yes. But if you're just saying like, I'm going to show you the overview of, I don't know, like Amazon's something, AWS, and then you're just like, yeah, that doesn't, no. So,
I can Google it, and that's
you can Google this, right?
Yes.
But you still see so many people thinking that people buy information. They don't. Yeah. Only outcomes now.
They buy transformation or outcome.
Transformation or outcomes, right? But information, like think back 10, 15 years ago, right? When you seen a sales guy, he often had CDs or tapes with
Yes.
like information in, right? These motivational stuff. That was what sold back then. You can get all of it free now. Nobody wants this stuff, right? Now it's all about the outcome. Like, if this guy's not going to show me how to make another sale per day, I'm just not interested.
Yeah. So therefore, I'm often speaking also about business models. So, for example, group coaching is also one business model that I like. But video online course that's cool because you don't have to trade your time for money. That's the cool thing. What people say. Well, therefore, I'm interested in. Yeah.
That's the key. But you got to also understand your niche.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like the course is not always the answer. So a friend of mine, he has a $500,000 course, pretty much automated. But the course itself is only a weekly call. So it's really group coaching, right? It's really group coaching. And what he found is he tried to give the best information in the course, right? The best information. And people were just like, no, this kind of sucks. I don't really want this. I don't have time for it. The thing is, he realized that his customers were really busy professionals, very busy professionals. What they want is to be able to get on a call or AMA, something similar, once a week, and have someone help them in a group solve the major problems that they're having. That's it. That's all they want. They don't care about all the information. They don't want to learn foundations. They don't want help with contracts. They don't want anything where they have to learn things. They just only want to be able to come on and get their problem solved. And he tried with the regular courses for so long. Once he moved it, and he still calls it sort of a course, but it's really, you know, like a weekly call, sales went through the roof.
Okay. So, but it is not a video online course in a traditional type. It's
not really. Like, he still has all of his modules, but he knows nobody looks at them. It's more of a bonus now.
Okay.
Right? And those calls that he has get recorded, and people watch them after a part of the course, the community, the group, right? But the thing that actually sells them and moves the whole thing forward is that 1 hour weekly call. That's it. That's what his people want.
Yeah, that's for me a classical group coaching format. So, for example, you use Kajabi or Katra as a backend, and then you have the videos and the material in the backend where people can watch it in self-learning process. And but you also have this weekly coaching call, and this is also recorded, and you upload it also on the backend.
Yeah. So the differentiator there is that he thought he was going to sell the course and have this maybe as an extra. What it turns out to, people are all buying that call,
the opposite,
and everything else is an extra. Nobody cares about his actual course. So I'm just saying, you know, you got to learn your niche. Like, don't force things down people if they're not interested in it. You know, you have to kind of feel your market.
Yeah. Okay, very good. When it comes to researching about your niche, about your market, can you give some advice or lessons how to find out what is okay? I mean, there are these basics, going into Facebook groups or looking for keywords, but do you have other things that in order to feel what my niche wants?
So, like, the ones you mentioned are decent, but they're not really to find out about the niche. Like, you want to go into a Facebook group to sort of see if there's any excitement and see just how much nonsense people are asking. Because, you know, that's usually what Facebook groups are. It's just a bunch of nonsense, right? The best niches will have forums from 2002 that look like something back from AOL, and they're still very, very engaged. That's when you know you hit on something. Okay. It's not the Facebook group. It's these like old school, like, what are these people still doing here? But you can see they're engaged all the time. That's a very good niche. When it comes to keyword research and stuff like that, all you're really looking for is benchmark. Like, how many people are kind of searching for this? Because you'll never really find out unless you're running ads yourself. And sort of, what will my cost be? You know, because you can't be scared of buying customers, but you still need to just gauge it, right? Yeah. And then you will look through Google Trends just to see if your industry is going up or down, because you don't want to be going in an industry that's niching down. You know, and I just had a call with someone recently, and she wants to do a course where she helps people get into the New York fashion industry.
Okay.
Okay, it's fine.
Yeah.
That's what she was doing her whole life.
Yeah.
But my first question was, why, when this is a dying industry? And, of course, she got upset, thought the thing was weird. And I was like, well, just look at Google Trends. I sent her a picture, New York fashion, and it was trending, for the last maybe 15, 20 years.
Yeah.
And then she, was kind of speechless. And I was like, but it's it's just a valid question. Why would you go into a dying industry?
Mm.
Right. So you look for those type of marks, right? Like you want to know, like, can I dominate this industry? Are people excited in the industry?
Mm-hmm.
Is there money? Because if you're seeing 15 keywords and Google says they're not worth anything, that's usually not a great sign.
Yeah.
If the trend is, not going in the right direction, then, maybe this is the wrong bus to get on. Maybe you want to get on a different bus, one that's moving somewhere else. So that's what I look for that. But the best way is you need to talk to these people.
Yeah.
Like every time when I work with someone that's been trying to sell for a long time and no one buys, they have a big email list, we change the buy button to a strategy call.
Mm-hmm.
And very quickly they realized that whatever they thought they were selling was the wrong thing, because people are like, okay, this is nice, but can you help me with this? And they're confused. They're like, but I'm like, listen to the people, listen to what they want, and it'll get better. And it does every single time, right? But a lot of entrepreneurs these days, they're scared of getting on the phone. I don't know why, but I see this fear a lot. It's like public speaking. I don't want to do it. I don't like being on a podcast. I don't like being on the phone. I'm like, well, grow some balls and do your business.
Sure. Yes.
Right? Like, I'm like, look, it's not a forever thing. Once you figure it out, once the customers tell you what they want, you put the buy button back on. Once you get your offer straightened out and your positioning straightened out.
Yeah.
But initially you need to talk to the customers.
Mm-hmm. It's one thing I was also checking Facebook ads. So if there are Facebook advertisements, there maybe is a market because people are running ads. This is a good sign that your niche or your market is existing and people are buying things. So this is also something that came in my mind when you talked about how to identify if your market is is big enough, or is there any market?
Yeah, that's a decent one. The bad thing about Facebook ads is you don't see the cost at all by just seeing the ads, right? So with Facebook, I would more look at audiences. I would first check is there a group that exists around my idea, because that's a little bit of a sign. Then can I target them in the audiences? Because often you can't. It's getting harder and harder because they're taking away the different targeting options. But those two would help a bit. And then AdWords is where you want to kind of go in and actually look at cost per click, cost per, just so you sort of get an idea like how much this is going to cost me. But Facebook is more of like an overview. Is there a group that I can find with the same interest? But not really the ads, because they don't tell you much.
Okay. Cool. Okay, this was the research. And when it comes to creation, so after I identified, I made my calls with my customers and identified one specific niche. So now it's about creation. So do you have any advice or lessons about content creation, about video creation? So how to do it, and which software maybe to use for uploading it and to sell it?
When it comes to creation, I'm really not the guy. There's so many of these $5 places where you can get people to help you with creation. It's not difficult. Okay. I've seen ones get done just on the phone. People record over slides with a mic. Look, the main thing with creation is you need to figure out, one, what the outcome is going to be.
Yeah.
And the starting point of the people taking your course. And then you got to bridge that gap, right? So if someone's here starting off, we want to take them there. Well, how do I reverse engineer this? How do I build the steps that will take them there every single time, right? So that's really the most important thing. Don't overthink the actual how to do the content. It's just make sure that people can follow it. And whatever you need visually, just put it in. Whatever, it will help them. But the main thing is just get people from A to B. That should be your whole focus, not like, crazy cameras. And then, software, it's so easy. You put it on Thinkific, Teachable, or Kajabi, any of those, they're all the same. All the same.
Yeah. Don't overcomplicate it, so to say.
No, you can't. Don't overcomplicate this stuff. There's tools and there's people to help. You go on Fiverr, they're going to help you, like,
Yes.
fix your slideshow or edit your videos. Like, this is like very, very low wage type of task.
Okay, and when it comes, this is also something that I'm hearing a lot. I don't have a list, so is this still working for me? So what are your thoughts about this topic? So do I need a list in order to sell and monetize my video online course?
Well, why wouldn't you have a list?
Yeah, I mean, I'm working on my list, but there are people out there who still don't work on their list. So
yeah, that's the question. I'm like, why aren't you working on your list? It's the only thing you control online. The only thing.
The biggest asset that people have.
It really is. It's the only thing you control. You don't control your social. Like, I've just read an article about a guy getting locked out of his Google account. Can you imagine?
That's tough, man.
Can you imagine?
That's sad.
Yeah, his calendar, his YouTube, all the apps he paid for with his Google account, all the logins, everything was gone. Everything was gone. Backup pictures, Google Drive, everything.
Oh
right?
my
So
God.
you don't, you don't control any of this stuff, man. Like, the list, like, I used to think, because initially with our business, we could get clients easily, and we still can, and we never thought about the list, right? But long term, if you actually want to stop trading your time for money, this is a thing you're going to have to build up. You want that asset before than after. So we market and build the list, no matter, like, right now we're fully booked till next year. And, I have people asking me, like, why are you even marketing? I was like, I'm building the list. I'm continually building that list, and it's getting more responsive and bigger, asking me for things to build. So at that point, it is so much easier to put something out. If you've been putting out good content, engaging with people, you have 2,000-3,000 people that follow you, and, pretty good open rates, and they keep asking for more stuff. That's when you have an easy, big launch. That's when you don't have to work on marketing so hard initially. And yeah, later on, you're going to tweak things if you want to go evergreen, because launches are horrible. You don't want to do a launch and then launch and then launch over and over, right? It's just not a good business model. But you can use these people to start you off. You can get the data, and it's much easier to build an evergreen system that way.
Yes.
Much easier than if you're just, trying to start from scratch. Because initially, you don't even know what people want. You don't know who this audience is. You got to build it. You got to waste a lot of money trying to even figure out, is it web designers or is it graphic designers that I'm going after? Is it people in this industry? Is it people in that industry? Do they have 2 years of experience or 10, right? You have no idea about anything. And you're spending money just to learn about your ideal client. So I say, while you don't need the list, that's when you should start building it. You should start building it while you're still trading time for money, so that eventually it's going to be very, very easy for you to stop doing it.
Yes. So the list as your main asset, I think this is very important and underestimated also in these days, where people want shares and likes and comments. So, which is fine, but it is not a very long-term business model. So
it's all useless. It's all useless. Look, man, like, I asked my girlfriend once. She got, I think, like 100-something likes on Instagram.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, tell them to buy us a pizza.
This reminds me of, this reminds me something of Frank Kern posted something. So he got a message through his Instagram, and they said, well, you don't have so many followers, well, you're not real marketer. And he answered back, and he made a screenshot. Well, I tried to deposit my followers, but the bank didn't accept it. Strange thing.
Pretty much, right? So social media should be like the bottom of your ecosystem, right? Is when people start engaging with you, they see you, and as quickly as possible, you need to get them into your ecosystem, which is your email list. as fast as possible. That should be the only reason you're even on social media, unless you have a place in there where you get clients consistently, right? So for me, there are some groups where people constantly ask about someone to help them market their course. So that's the only time when I will actually say something like, yeah, we do it at this website. I'm trying to bring them in the ecosystem very quickly, but I'll answer. If it's not for that or to get them on my email list, it's a waste of time.
Yeah.
Right? Motivational pictures will not pay your bills.
Yeah, that's exact. Love it. Okay. One more thing. When you pricing your online course. So let's speak a little bit about this. So how to identify what is the right price? Is it too much, too less? These are always headaches I think that people have when they're creating their course. So how do you deliver, or how do you identify the exact price for yourself?
So there are three factors that I usually look at. The simplest equation is you figure out your outcome, figure out the value of your outcome, divide that by 10, and that's your sale of a course. That's what you're selling it for.
Why divided by 10?
Yeah, so 10% of what the outcome promises is an easy sale, usually, right? So, and this works every time. Like I just had a lady who promises to business owners 6 figures in 1 year of taking their course. So that's about $100,000. She sells this course for roughly $10,000, super easy sale.
Yeah, because the return on investment
is 10 times, right? So that's the simplest formula, right?
Okay.
However, 2 other big factors. One, how good are you at selling? Right? Because anything below $300, easy to sell. From $300 to $900, good offer, good positioning. Anything more than that, and you need some actual skills to get people to trust you and get this from you, right? So even if you have a big outcome, but you're a crappy salesperson and don't really know what you're doing, you might want to divide by 20, because that 10 is still going to be a little too hard for you to go past, right? The third one is, what kind of shoppers do you want? Do you want the Walmart shoppers, the ones who, go to Udemy and will like give you a hard time over $15? Or do you want more of the Nordstrom luxury shoppers who actually value what they're buying and are much easier to deal with, right? So these 3 things you need to look at. Who do you want to deal with? What is the value? And then, am I a good salesperson? Right? Because all of them. Yeah.
And if it comes when it comes to selling, this is also something that many people are terrified about. So I'm not a salesperson, but many people forget that it is a skill that you can learn and train. So that's always something that many people forget, in my opinion.
It's true. It's a learnable skill. But what I'm saying is, if you have an outcome that's, let's say, $10,000, right? Just the value of the outcome, you know, and you sell the course for $150, and people actually do think that, the outcome is worth that. You can have the worst sales technique, and people will actually be telling you, can you just shut up so I can buy? Like I've seen this happen before. So this is why you need to put that into your, valuation. If you're really crappy, don't go at the higher end, go at the lower end, and at least you're going to get a ton of sales, because people are going to be like, yeah, this is a no-brainer. Yeah, I get it. You're crappy at selling. Your funnel sucks, but I think this is valuable. Right?
Yeah,
so
it will help me. It will help me to
it will help you
grow.
Yeah, and it's going to help you get more confident, and then eventually maybe pay someone to fix the entire funnel so that you can now sell, for whatever the upper range without problems. But often I see, people either devalue it, and then they get into that where I'm no longer a Nordstrom shopper who thinks this is valuable. I'm now a Walmart shopper who would like 30 hours of content and some toilet paper with it. And then, you have a different problem, because to them, everything's too expensive.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
So this is why you need to kind of understand, like, which area of the people you also want to deal with. You want to be with the Nordstrom shoppers usually. And if you're just a crappier salesperson, just be on the lower end, but don't go into that, area where the Nordstrom shoppers like, this is garbage. No one will sell it for that cheap, right? You have to always think about that too.
Okay, interesting. Very good. Okay. So there are things that separate successful online courses from one that's failing. So there are different variables. Can we speak a little bit about these variables?
Like, I think we mentioned a lot of them already. The main variables is just, people selling information over outcomes. That's usually the biggest thing. People pricing incorrectly, just like we spoke about. People going after a niche which is too competitive or they have no business being in. People not treating the course as a business. That's a big one too. And just selling things which people don't want. I've seen this one the most. People just build something and no one wants it. Like, you never asked anybody, and you try to keep pushing it like, oh, this is a great idea. I was like, who cares? Ideas are a dime a dozen. Like, what's the point? And they can't answer.
Yeah. Okay, cool. I think this helps. Okay. So my last question is always a question about who can you or would you recommend for my podcast? So who are people that you think would be a good fit in the area of content marketing? So who create a lot of good content or are in the PR niche?
It's interesting because a few of my closest friends, they don't do podcasts these days, or they just don't feel like it. So, even though they would be a good fit, they wouldn't do it.
Okay, because they did so many, or why?
They're more just focused on what they're doing. So one of them is creating written content, and this is working for him. He doesn't care at all about trading his time to bring views in. He's like, I'm gonna write another article instead. Yeah. Another one just focuses on his business and he sees no value in podcasts, right?
Okay.
But I do have one friend who's very entertaining. Yeah. A really good content creator.
Cool.
John Lawson. I can introduce you.
That would be great. Okay. So anything from your side? I think it was very valuable for anybody who wants to create a video online course. Yeah. Especially the pricing thing, the mistakes. Is there something that you want to add?
Yeah, when I think about it, like the one question people have, usually is what niches work best, right? Mm-hmm. What types of courses do best? Yes. And there are 3 different segments that I see people always get lucky in, right? Mm-hmm. So they'll come to me already like, yeah, we're selling great, but we just want to sell more, and they don't know why. The first one is to help people pass exams or interviews. Right? So like the accountant exam, life insurance exam, a lot of bigger firms like Google and HubSpot and all these Salesforce, they have exams which are quite difficult and you help them pass that. Yeah. The second one is a very engaged niche that it's got a strong following, but it's very obscure, right? So could be something like watercolor painting or hobbies, calligraphy, or something that's just quite obscure. But think of it this way. Yeah. There are a lot of small cities and towns in the world, a lot, right? And there are people that like different things in them. So for example, they might want to learn Chinese calligraphy. That's just an example because it's obscure. They really want it, but there's no expert anywhere in their town or anywhere around that can teach them. Yeah. So these are the people who gather online because they can't find anyone that good, right? And these you can usually do very, very well in. So I usually find those to be the best. The third one is really when you have just a very, I would say, kind of unique outcome, right? Mm-hmm. So it's got to be super clear. and you got to have a really good method that you can explain, right? So like I've seen a lady say, you know, I'm going to help you gain 1,000 Instagram followers without doing this, or that, and transform them into 3 paying clients where each one's going to be at least $1,000.
That's very specific.
Yeah, it's very specific, right? Like very, and I see those do really well, and it's obvious why, because, you know, it's like, but they developed this method where, you know, like the value is so simple, and then they'll sell it for like $300-400, and everyone's like, well, I'm pretty much guaranteed $3,000 at the end, right? Like it's because it's like for the taking. And those do really well initially too, until they hit some kind of a wall, because you know, maybe they know Facebook or YouTube, and then they just hit a ceiling. And now there's this comment like, okay, Tom, like, how do I get more of these type of people? Because I can't, you know, I can put 50 more videos on YouTube and nothing else happens. Like, this is all I'm getting. So these type of niches, helping people, you know, pass exams, pass interviews, because with that, you got to remember the external motivation is already in place.
Yes.
Let's say I'm trying to get an accounting job. The guy tells me, okay, but you got to pass this exam. You have 4 weeks. If you don't pass, you don't get the job. Well, as an online course creator, I don't have to sell you much, right? I don't have to tell you like, oh, you know, like within 30 days, like, you know, you need to pass this or you're done. So
it's so to say warm clients. So they are not thinking about if they buy it or not. They are already have this in mind. I need this. I have to buy something, or I need some kind of information, some kind of transformation that helps me. And they are already warm, and they are just looking around and then finding your course and buying it.
Because the urgency is already there, and you don't have to sell them on the outcome. Well, what's the outcome? You get the job. that's you know, so those, I think I would want to add those 3, because those are very important. If you can put yourself into one of those, you'll always get lucky.
That's cool. Nice. Thank you very much.
Yep, that was the bonus.
Thank you, Tom.